Welcome to the Phoenix Path podcast. I'm your host, Maddie B. I'm so excited today to bring you Catherine Tootle. Catherine and I have known each other. We met about 8 years while both in long-term treatment in Statesboro, Georgia. She battled 15 years of drug addiction and lost custody of her daughter, Marley, at just 5 months. But she made an incredible comeback. She surrendered to recovery. She attended that long-term treatment and completed it. She is a loving wife and mom, and she got Marley back, her daughter. She is a servant leader in her church. She's the director of the very program that she went through. She started a nonprofit. Catherine, you are just amazing woman. You are the epitome of a comeback. And I'm just so, happy to see your face and welcome.
Thank you.
How's it going today? What have you been up to?
So, well, serving at church,
Yeah.
on people in the hallways. I do want to go back right quick because, just for clarity, I didn't start this nonprofit, but I
Okay.
did come along whenever it was started,
Mm-hmm.
not long after. So I do just want to make sure I say that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I, uh, I was just really grateful earlier because my daughter got to go be with her grandparents for Super Bowl Sunday.
I
So
love it.
my husband is being his sweet self, taking her to go meet my dad, and then we
And,
get to have our day together.
and how is the love of your life, Clint?
He's amazing. He's
Yeah.
always gonna go help somebody. That's what he's
Yeah.
gonna do when he gets back into town. He's about to go
Yeah.
help somebody at the
I'll
art.
never forget, Clint. Obviously we're in the same recovery program, and I remember you both would share where you were at, and both spoke the language of the heart and just were incredibly authentic and honest and real. And when I saw that you both had found each other to be together, I was not surprised. I was like, absolutely, this is perfect.
I was so drawn to him later in recovery because of his authenticity. Just
Hmm.
exactly what you were talking about.
Hmm.
He had no problem laughing at the crazy drug addiction that he had been through.
Yes. I mean,
And I
his
love
story.
that.
Yes. I'm gonna have to see if Clint will come on
Oh my
here.
gosh. He would just do great.
Yeah,
You know, these are all just God stories in us. And
they
so
are.
I want to make sure I am representing God well today. You
I
know,
know. Yeah, no, I
he
hear
will do the
you.
same thing.
And, I know I always ask our guests, is there anything that's off limits? And, everybody has said no, absolutely not. They're, all in, happy to just lay it out because you never know who's listening and who needs to hear that, that story where they can say, oh gosh, it's not just me,
That's right.
you know.
Exactly
You
right.
know.
That's why it's so important to talk about recovery as being a mom and a wife,
Mm-hmm.
even in what that looks like later on in recovery. Because we
Mm-hmm.
just heal through so many things that gets peeled away year after year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if we don't share it, we do feel alone.
Yeah, that connection, it's the opposite of addiction, isn't it? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's everything.
Damn girl.
Well, before we'll dive right in because
Okay.
I know I probably need 2 hours with you. You've done so much and you've been through so much. And so, can you take us back to the beginning and what led you down the path of substance use and how did it take hold of your life back then?
Oh yeah, for sure. I was 12, 13 when it just seemed like a fun thing to do because some of my friends were doing it, um, and I will say it was a great tool for numbing out what I was feeling, what was going on. I'm a big believer that trauma leads us down all kind of paths, and this was just one of them for me. Um, and so yeah, I was just and I was shared this too because I always made really great grades in school. And so I always had like extra time, free time to be doing whatever it was that I wanted to do. Um, my mother doesn't mind a bit that I share this, but she is also one of us, and she was struggling majority of my childhood, and so it was a lot of like seeing about my brother and sister, and while my dad was working out of town, and it was just a nice little relief, to just
Yeah.
relax, have a good time, and of course, it progressed. You
Hmm.
know,
Did you see your mom use? Was that something that you saw?
absolutely,
Yeah.
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 I mean, she was like one of the first ones I used with.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's important to say some things, I can't
Mhm.
let me and her, we cannot let Shane win.
Mhm.
So it is important to say those things.
Mhm.
So yeah, I definitely watched it, and speaking of, I always watched addiction in my family. It was kind of normal in a lot of ways. It was just like, yeah, she's on one again, or yeah, my loved one's on a tear again, and I never saw anyone like choose recovery. I never saw anyone go to treatment. I saw some of my mom's consequences, which were kind of terrifying. It's led her to, an ambulance picking her up from our house. It's led her to institutions and prison, and that was kind of what I saw as the solution to what this disease had to offer. You
Yeah.
know, but it
Yeah.
wasn't enough. It still wasn't enough for me to like say I'm not going to do it.
Hmm.
Just
Well,
had
and
to
that's the
find out.
yeah, yeah, and that's the powerlessness of it. And I believe your mum found her way into recovery. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. So my mom, let's see, in April, I can't even remember now. It's either going to be 5 or 6 years.
that's amazing.
Yeah, she went and finally at 60 years old was like, I got to do something different. And
Hmm.
how powerful that was to watch my mom. She went through a hardcore program too. She was there for almost 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah.
Was that in
Mhm.
Georgia? Did she stay in Georgia or did
Yeah.
she?
It's
Yeah.
at a little town over in Metter. It's called the Wise Place.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, peer run, and um she was she was one of the oldest ones there. And that gave a lot of hope, I feel like, to others.
Mm-hmm.
Especially ones that would come in older. They would be like, well, if it ain't too late for her and she's doing it, if she can walk to work every morning, I can do it. You
That's
know,
yeah, incredibly inspiring. And just like, you mentioned, addiction can be normalized when it's in the family home. But the ripple effect of recovery, I mean, you got sober, then your mom's getting sober, and your sister's now sober.
sister, absolutely. It's just, that's not even it. My cousin, he's in recovery.
Oh my
I
gosh.
know one of our little cousins is in recovery. I mean, like, she's just taken off on this path, and she's young too. She's a young mom, and I just love watching her choose recovery at such a young age.
How old is
So,
she?
man, I think she's like 21.
Oh my gosh.
I don't even know if that's right. She could be 20 or 22, but she's right around like she's just taken off.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
I
working
don't
with a
even know if
girl
she's
right.
that old. She
Yeah.
might even be like 19.
Oh my gosh.
It's
Yeah.
wild.
I can't imagine, but I'm working with a girl right now actually that's 21.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't look back, but gosh, if I'd found it that long ago, I mean, just imagine what life, what the other adventures we could, that you would have had early on. But
Isn't
that's
it?
an incredibly hard choice.
It really
It
is.
takes
I
a
don't know
lot
how
of
they've done
courage.
it.
Right, because your peers. Yeah.
So far away from me.
Well, and so going back to sort of you and your journey, I know there are those things that help us surrender, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the powerlessness of addiction, and just the part of your story with your daughter Marley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's plenty of powerlessness and unmanageability in that. I I am. It's hard to talk about sometimes,
Hmm.
but the power it has of like helping other moms is amazing. And so, I always wanted a child, always wanted a child. I just knew that a child was going to fix me, girl.
Mm-hmm.
And it did not take long to see that a child was not going to fix me.
Yep.
I thought I would be able to, I guess, find a way to use and still be a mom, still show up. Because once again, I just never knew that there was this big, beautiful life in recovery. My
Mm-hmm.
best thinking was, I want to learn how to maybe not use so much while I'm pregnant, but and then have her, and then maybe not use so much when I have her. So reality, what it looked like is I used my whole pregnancy because there was no way physically that I would like get up and be about my day without something to help me get
Mm-hmm.
going.
Yeah.
And and that's not even talking about the detox that goes along with that. So, with the medications and I mean everything that I was doing, it was all stacked on top of one another. And
Mm-hmm.
my best thinking was I would use, and then I would get sick.
Mm-hmm.
Marley was not having any of that.
No.
I would get sick, and my best thinking would be I'm gonna go try to lay down for a minute. I want to go try to eat, drink some chocolate milk, and then I'm gonna try it again. I mean,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
it. That's all
Yeah.
I could do. And
Yeah.
I had no other solution but
No.
that. That was it. And I
No.
was really good at isolate, being by myself all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's complete powerlessness. And I know when I hear that story, in the rooms, you can understand it, as an addict and an alcoholic, because it really takes you to places where you would draw lines in the sand, and then all of a sudden you're crossing over those thresholds. And that is absolutely one of them. So what happened next? At what point? Because I know you made it into detox and long-term treatment. So
Mm-hmm.
how did you surrender finally? What was it that brought you to that?
Well, we were talking about my mom earlier.
Yeah.
So after I have Marley, and it was so unmanageable, I had her at home.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
Girl, I know. Whoa. Uh, I have been on it all day, and I had no idea that that's what my body was changing. Like I could tell something was happening, but I didn't know because I'd never had a child before either. And plus, using substances, I'm already numbed out.
Yeah.
So, my dad and my grandpa happened to be there, thank God, and they were able to call 911. I mean, God had his hand all over Marley, and uh, once once the ambulance got there, it was a guy who I graduated with, of all people. And while he's out rescuing the world, I'm out having my baby at home. But they put me on the bed and like pushed twice, and Marley was here. And then there was a lot of complications after that,
Yeah.
and so they were rushing me to the hospital because I was about 20 minutes away from the hospital, and I had to go immediately into surgery. And I lost a lot of blood. I didn't know if I was going to make it out of that. I can
Oh my
remember
gosh.
fading out. Like
Yeah.
my teeth were chattering so hard from losing blood so quick. I thought I was going to break my teeth, and that's about the last thing I remember. But I remember after that waking up and in the hospital, and ladies coming in to check on me, and they brought me Marley, and they were like, I don't know how this has happened, but she is one of the healthiest babies out there.
Oh my gosh. That
Ain't
is
nothing but God. Ain't
oh,
nothing but God.
absolutely.
And so, I automatically know like God has been the one sustaining her this whole time because my best doing was what I described earlier.
Mhm.
So
Now,
I would try.
was your faith, so is this somewhere, in hindsight, as you got into recovery, where you could see this and your faith grow, or did you already have that relationship?
So I've had a relationship with God as long as I can remember. But it was the God of like my dad's God, kind of. It was based on his relationship with God. Like I always believed, like Jesus is the reason, I'm a firm believer. But I had been so far away and my guilt and shame wouldn't allow me to try to build that relationship back. But there was no denying that God was so real still in my life. But once again, guilt and shame would turn me from any of that. So I would try to get it together. The best thing that ever happened to me, I say it all the time, was us getting a detox case.
Yeah.
And that's the Department of Family and Children Services. They were like, you both tested positive. We're going to give you this 30-day plan to work. And I really never seen them anymore, but now I know that they're also overworked too. They just, I guess, closed my case after checking with some people. But a few months later, it was a time where I was using and I had Marley with me. I toted her around with me everywhere, all these sketchy places, doing all the things that I said I would never do. And I finally was caught up with in a store, and I was clearly intoxicated, and they called 911. The police came out. One of our family friends was at the same store. God again doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. Mm-hmm. She took Marley back to my parents. I got arrested because of things I had on me, and that would start a different trajectory in my life.
That was the moment. God. Yeah. And did you surrender then?
No.
No.
So the defects case came back. My cousin stepped in and she's like, I will help you with Marley if you'll go to long-term treatment. And I'm like, well, you've lost your mind. There's no way. There's no way I'm going to a long-term treatment center. That sounds crazy to me. Like, that's what sounded crazy to me. Mm-hmm. And so I would wallow in self-pity probably about 3-4 weeks. Mm-hmm. And my mom, just brings it back. This was the defining moment. My mom came and seen me and she was like, I know you probably need some groceries by now. Like, let's go get some groceries. And I was like, whatever, I'll go with you. I don't really care. But when she told me on the way there, she was like, Catherine, it's only going to get much worse from you from here on out. And I was like, when she said that, everything went through my mind about her life and addiction and what happened to us as kids. And that is the power of peer support. One of us talking to another one of us, right?
Absolutely.
And when she said that, she was like, all you have right now is the defects case and some probation. Like, that's it. And then you can do that. And I just started weeping and crying.
And
I'm like, I remember doing my hand like this, and I was like, it's going to be an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It's exactly going to be that. Mm-hmm. And that was it. I was like, okay, so she took me back to the place I was staying and gathered my things, and I left, and I was basically detoxing on her and my dad's couch while my sister and her was calling places for me, and they ended up getting me here in Statesboro.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll never forget you and the other women walking in to the rooms, and at that point, our house, we weren't allowed to talk to you, and like I said earlier, but I would hear you share your story, and you had this light, even amongst all of that, and really being on your knees, and I was too, and you still had this bright light, you really did. And you can see, it's not that we sit there and judge, but you can kind of see the winners.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the people that are all in. Yes. And you had that.
Our spirit knows when another person is all in, because if we're all in and we come across that with another person, our spirit just knows.
Oh, 100%.
And I knew that about you too, because
you did?
If we were going to be in a meeting, they was about to hear some gratitude for me.
Yeah, that's so true.
Humanity was about to rocket y'all into the fourth dimension.
Dimension. Exactly. We were. You're so right. You're so right. We did. We could find gratitude in a
All
paper
the
bag,
time.
you know,
Even in the mess, you know?
and you even in the mess. And do you send a gratitude list to your friends every day, or do you do a gratitude list?
I journal now.
Your journal. Yeah.
I'm forever talking about what I'm grateful for. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just like the culture of my life. It
Yeah.
is the foundation, and it started in recovery. You know,
Hmm.
I remember my sponsor telling me to make a list, right? And so I had like 3 bullet points, like my very first one. I still have it. And then later on during treatment, it would just be pages, pages, pages. And
Hmm.
it just rewired my brain.
Yeah.
Gratitude
100%.
totally did
Literally.
that. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, I mean, in the early days, I was just grateful for a hot shower. I was grateful for, shampoo that smelled good,
That's right.
you know, that I had a weekly allowance, and learned to budget and some really basic skills that, I just never put much thought into before, like budgeting and running a house and,
Wow.
uh, I thought I could do those things and I could do them, but it's a different ball game when you're sober and paying. You're really trying to, be how do we say it? Self-sufficient, but responsible in that way.
Yeah, we're
Responsible.
intentional,
Yeah,
very
yeah,
intentional.
very intentional,
We
very
have
intentional.
we have such a gift going through 12-step fellowship and treatment
Yeah,
because majority of people do not get that in life.
yeah,
And we are very blessed because of the disease of addiction. And it's
absolutely.
just wild to even say that, but it's so true.
It's so
No
true.
way. I wouldn't be here like without that all that chaos
Yeah.
doing the
Yeah,
work we do.
with addiction, there's two choices. You can embrace recovery and have a life beyond your wildest dreams, truly.
Mm-hmm.
Even if your life looks simple to a lot of other people, it's the richest experience I've had in my entire, my whole
Okay.
life. Those God winks, the community. I never have to do anything alone again.
That's right.
A growing connection and trust in God, my higher power. And yeah, we really get to, walk in quite, profound place, yeah, and share that with other people. So rebuilding your life. So we'll fast forward a little bit. So you went through and completed the long-term treatment,
Yes.
and then you came out, and I know you got some subsidized housing,
Yes.
worked hard to get Marley back.
That's
You're
right.
rehabilitating. You worked at Arby's while you were getting your feet back on the ground.
That's right.
And then when did you I know then at some point you applied for a job and were rejected from it from the application.
Absolutely.
I did but I know I'll let you tell this story because
Okay.
it's phenomenal how
It
this works.
is. It is very cool, and it is very important for people to know this, especially if their state supports this kind of work. So at the time, the treatment that I went through was state funded. It's a state site, and so after I graduated through treatment and OP and outpatient, I did like everything they would allow me to do. Then the state approached me about working for them, and I was like, I would love to, because of course I'm in a space where I'm praying about what does God really want me to do with my life.
Mhm.
So when I do my finger, you have to do your fingerprints to work for the state. And when I did, they were like, you absolutely cannot work here.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I mean, I thought maybe I had a few charges lingering around somewhere. But when they gave me my stuff back, it was like 7 pages
Wow.
of criminal activity, and it's all related to drugs.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, Lord, you must want me to do the shift manager at Arby's. That was going to be the other thing I did.
Yeah.
So I get my book to start studying, and then the state comes back in and they're like, hey, there's an appeal process. We can appeal the findings on your background and show how you are recovering. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, well, let's do that. So I went there, I did my fingerprints again, got denied, and had the 15-day window of like sending everything in.
The appeal. Yeah.
Yes, we appealed. So I appealed, and the benefit of community, recovering in a community, is everybody wrote a letter. Everybody wrote a letter of my recovery and what that looked like, how it benefits the community. You know, I'd already had service positions in the 12 step, sponsoring. You know, I was in the community doing things. And so once the state saw all of that, they saw my graduation certificate, parenting classes, the defects case closing, they called me and they were like, we just want you to know you won your appeal. And I was like,
oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Amazing. And so when I won the appeal, I was able to start working for the state, and the site is called Pineland, and they are huge. They cover like 8 counties in Southeast Georgia. Mm-hmm. So they have all these sites, and they had just wrote a grant. Well, actually, a friend of ours, he had just wrote the grant while he was in school, collaborating with Pineland. And the grant was for what we call an RCO. And an RCO is a recovery community organization. Mm-hmm. And it is where recovery is not anonymous. We live recovery out loud. And so I was interviewed for that, and they're like, how would you feel about living your recovery out loud? Are you okay with that? Would you be okay talking about it? And I was like, oh my God, yes. Everyone saw my addiction. I don't care if everybody, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody saw the addiction. Now let everybody see the recovery.
That's right. Yeah. So they hired a director, and then that director brought me in, and then we eventually brought another teammate in. And so the work that the RCO focuses on is peer support. And that is, you know, one of us talking to another one of us.
Yeah.
And it's like, just like if we're going through anything, like a divorce or a new baby, it's like we want to talk to people who's been through it. And that is what an RCO is made up of. Mm-hmm. People with lived experience. Everyone that works here is in lived experience. Mm-hmm. And so that happened, and I got hired on, and I don't know, I think it was about 2 or 3 years later, I became the director.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Congratulations. You know, here you are, the director, and, you know, living your recovery out loud. And so tell us a little bit about, so you're doing that. And then, oh, by the way, did you meet Clint? Is this when you were meeting Clint?
So I met Clint right after, well, I met Clint way back, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But I could never talk to him.
No, exactly.
So when I graduated treatment, that's when we started taking the meetings into John's place. Another Pineland site. We started taking the 12-step meetings in there.
Yeah.
And I was working at Arby's. I was already working at Arby's. So, gosh, we got married in 19. So that was probably like the end of 17.
Yeah.
Is when that happened. And we just clicked, you know. Yeah. There was no forcing it, and I shared with everybody he was not trying to go home with me. He was being a gentleman, you know. Yeah. And it was so far from what my experience had been with Ben, you know. So when I felt safe with him, that's when I introduced him to Marley, because he always heard about Marley in the room.
Yes, of course.
You know?
Yeah.
And his mom shares all the time that she remembers when he saw Marley for the first time. We were in a Dollar General, and when we went around the aisle, we saw Clint come up, and he got to meet Marley for the first time.
Oh my gosh.
He was like, "Oh, I've always heard about you." You know, he was just a little toddler toppling around, and yeah. So once he met Marley and Marley loved him, I was like, I'm here for this, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And Marley's 9 now.
Marley's 9.
Yeah.
Yes,
Isn't that amazing?
yes, it is amazing. She
Yeah.
is absolutely wonderful.
Is
Like,
she like you? Is she a go-getter?
she is a go-getter. Yes,
Yeah.
she is.
Yeah.
But she's, because of recovery and because of having a relationship with God,
Mm-hmm.
me and Clint get to teach her about it's okay to express your feelings. It's okay to be angry, but you can't go do things that are going to destroy yourself or other people, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Nobody was telling me that when I was a child.
No.
Nobody was exploring those things, and I know now they didn't have it to give away.
Mhm.
Nobody taught them either. But we get to do those things with Marley. So she's
Absolutely.
like, she enjoys her life. She does ballet.
Yeah.
She's a little artist. She's already sold some paintings. Like, she's 9,
That's amazing.
you
That's
know?
amazing. Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Now, and so after I do want to I've got to ask you this. So sort of just to go like dating in recovery, if you were, if anyone's listening and they're getting sober, I mean, let me just say this. You, we all have our path, and not all of us wait, a year like it's recommended.
Mm-hmm.
But my higher power wastes God, wastes nothing. And, all the experience is used, whether it's when, newcomers come into my life or women that I'm working with. But essentially, everybody has their own path. But if you were to give some like a suggestion from your experience about dating and sobriety, what would that be?
Hmm. Well, I will say there was no better feeling than doing it the right way. Um, no one could take that from us. We
Mhm.
waited, and it felt so good to build on that.
Yeah.
And the secrets, because
Mhm.
the secrets is what I was trying to escape from so much.
Yeah.
But even if we don't wait, please don't let guilt and shame hold you back.
Yes.
That's the thing. We put it on ourselves so much, and we are so critical on ourselves that we forget about the grace and mercy.
A
It
hundred
is not
percent.
the end all be all.
Yeah. How did you process like what did the process look like of letting go of shame and guilt? I hear, there's like personal development books and different places where you hear like let that shit go or
Mm-hmm.
get a girl wash your which don't get me wrong, I kind of like the
Yeah.
girl wash your face thing. But often we need an actual process to go
Yes.
through.
Application. Practical application.
Application.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So for the guilt and shame specifically, because I think even if you're listening and you're not in recovery, guilt and shame, like you said, holds us back in
Yes.
so many ways and areas of our life. In fact, guilt and shame in one area of our life can hold us back in every
Oh,
area
that's
of our life.
exactly right.
So, what was your experience with truly moving through that and being the liberated, free, and
Freedom. Yes.
peaceful person that beautiful lady that you are today?
The one thing that has always, always worked, and it's the scariest thing, is telling somebody.
Yeah,
Just
sharing it.
yeah, not just somebody. We're we need to look for people who we want what they have, right?
Yes.
We need to
Yeah.
look for people that are safe, that are trying their best in life. We don't want to just go find somebody that maybe their values don't match ours.
Yeah.
We don't want nobody that's going to be kicking us and shaming us and all that kind of thing. We want people that's going to respond with love. So finding whoever that is for you, even just one person, and just letting them know, dude, I'm struggling with this.
Hmm.
Like with the using while I'm pregnant, when I was using while I was pregnant, the scariest thing was telling people that in treatment.
Yeah.
We would have our groups, and it as a mom, it held the most power over me
Mhm.
was using while pregnant. And since then, I mean, there's always something that I can choose to either feel shame or ask God to give me the courage in that moment to put a voice to it and hurry up and do it.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Just do
don't
it.
sit on it. Don't sit on it.
Oh, it gets so much harder every
Yeah.
time. But even if we do sit on it, we can just find that one person to be like, hey, I just need a few minutes of your time.
Mm.
First of all, if you're telling yourself you're a burden on somebody, it's a lie. Don't even believe it. Because we all want to be helpful, Like, don't deprive us the chance of being helpful.
100%.
You know?
Which is, that perfectly brings me to the next topic to kind of hit, which so being help like you're talking about robbing someone of the opportunity to be of service is truly robbing them. And
Yeah.
because service is such, laid the foundation of self-esteem and self-worth for me. When you've been through so much shame and guilt and you kind of worked on processing that and you've gotten honest and you've shed some tears and you've, like you said, found another addict or alcoholic that is walking in a value-filled life of love and compassion and brotherly love and generosity and kindness and honesty and all of those things. And then the next kind of step is then being of service ourselves, which, begins this foundation of self-esteem and self-worth. And, what do they say? To have self-esteem, do esteemable things.
Boy, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So talk to me a little bit because you're of service in every area of your life, which is what the program, talks about is that we practice these principles in all of our affairs, and you truly do that. You truly do that. And so when did you start to feel that self-worth? Was it when you started being of service kind of with, addicts and alcoholics? Was that self-esteem and self-worth built there? And what other areas where did that grow? Where did that grow?
It started whenever my sponsor turned me loose to sponsor.
Yeah.
And I knew even in the treatment house too, there was always somebody I could help there. But while we're talking about this, it's really important to talk about the extremes of life, because for the first few years of my recovery, I gave myself away to everything, everybody, and it left me resentful sometimes and just being hard to advocate for myself when I needed to say no, when I needed a rest. I need to take care of myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would find out through another 12-step program that I'm supposed to be taking care of myself too. So it is important to say that before we go in, because the first few years I gave myself away at every turn, every corner, sponsoring the most people. I mean, it was complete chaos.
Yeah. And you're exhausted, and like you said,
Exhausted.
Yeah, because you're not getting your cup filled up enough to, you're
That's
giving
right.
more than you're getting. Yeah.
Right. And it's pretty prideful when I look back on it. That's pretty prideful to think I could just keep going like that without asking God just to be still with God and ask him, what does he want me to do? What do I need to give my best yes to? What does that look like? And so fast forward to today, it's been a few years of learning how to say no and how to really rank my priorities. What's really important, And first of all, my relationship with God has got to come. My sponsorship has got to be there, and my family. Like, my word for the year is family. And my prayer partner taught me about having a word for the year. And last year I did it, but I was still going. I don't even remember what it was. Like, I didn't practice it at all, whatever it was. But this year, it was very apparent what my word needed to be, and it was family. Like, I want to be showing up for my family around every single corner. My nieces, my nephews. My nephew was in this play, and he was Gaston.
Oh, wow.
Girl. And his voice, we drove an hour and a half to go see this play. And He was amazing. He's a senior in school, and it it sparked something in me of like, gotta be getting to more of these things. These moments
Yeah.
are passing by so quickly, you know.
Yeah.
But and but getting back to service, you know, like today my life looks much different than what it did even 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I really give a lot of myself to my church community, you know, and that's something I never thought I'd be doing. You would have never convinced me of that.
Right. 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 You hear that a lot. Yeah.
Man, but we have an awesome church called Connection Church here, and they love on some people in recovery, and it's very apparent. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of us go there, and it feels like home, you
Yeah.
know, because there's so many of us there. And I remember when I was watching some babies, they were being dedicated, and I was crying because it just meant so much to me, these little families. And there was a family up there that looked like they could have walked down mine and Clint's Road. You know,
Oh.
looked like they were just coming out of the muck a little bit.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it was audibly, but I could hear God say, "Why aren't you pouring into our next generation?"
Oh.
Girl, wrecked. I was
Yeah.
wrecked, and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, because someone had talked to me about serving with the children, and I was like, absolutely not, ain't no way. Super. I was just still really self-centered about it. Like,
Yeah.
how's that going to affect me? Well,
Mhm.
slow me down, and I don't know about other people's kids, and you know, I had all the reasons, you know, and
Yeah.
but when I heard him say that, I was like, okay, I want to do it. And it started with that, and since then it's grown into, you know, I've spoken at some events, some women events there, and now God has led me to start a group for women in recovery, especially mamas and babies, where they can bring their kids.
Oh, that's lovely. Do you hold that at the church or do you do it in your home?
To do it at home.
Oh,
I
that's
never
even
would have thought
better.
I'd be doing that either.
That's even better. I
I
have a group of
know.
women on a Sunday night. I'm in another 12-step program as well, and we have a group
Yes,
on Sunday night, and there's nothing like opening my home.
it's true.
Yeah.
It's so true. It keeps me accountable too.
Yeah.
And our babies, our children get to watch us.
Yes.
We're like, they see what community is. They
Yes.
see us talking about God. Like, that's normal to them every week.
Yeah.
You know, so that's been something new. And Clint, he also does the same thing. And they actually use Freedom Through Recovery, the men's group. They come up here and use this space. And actually, what I have really been asking God to help me with is allowing my husband to lead our family, you know,
Mm.
because I'm always like on missions all the time, you know, and he's
Yeah.
my biggest cheerleader. And I'm being more intentional about slowing down, asking God to help me slow down.
Mhm.
And Clint led us in that. He started with that connect group, and I saw it go well for him, and he loved it. He loved the time with his guys, and I was like, well, if you can do it, I can do it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's kind of like what service looks like today. And, you know, I'm always picking up the phone when somebody calls,
Yeah. Yeah.
just being there for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and so just to go back a little bit to your story, I know you went on to obviously how did you become the director? Like
Wow, right?
you got the job and how did you become the director? I'm sure was it fast?
I think it was, let's see, I started in 19 and then 2021 is when I
Yeah.
became the director. So, yeah.
Jeez. Yeah.
Well, our previous director, he went on to do something different and it just happened. And then I was like, what? I hope I'm the director because this has been like my little baby. I've
Yeah.
been here since just about since it started, and I've learned so much about different pathways to recovery, and that's what I love about an RCO. You know, it's not one way is the right way. It has. When I went through my certification to be a recovery coach, it's called a CARES. Um, I went up to Atlanta with AA is the way. Do you hear
Oh,
me?
wow. Yeah. Oh, I remember
I mean,
those.
that's
Yeah,
all
I
I
remember
knew.
those
That was
days.
all I
Yeah.
knew. And when I got up there, they were talking about, the space being a way of recovery, physical activity, just taking care of our mental health, medication
100%.
treatment. It was just like all the things. And my mind was blown, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
God just leveled it up. And so,
Yeah.
so I came back and we really started working on different kind of meetings. We have all kind of different meetings here. It goes from like a eating disorder anonymous meeting to we're about to start a chronic pain anonymous
Oh,
meeting.
wow.
Yeah, there's a all recovery meeting where it's multiple pathways in the same room, a
Oh, I
group
like,
report.
I've never heard of that. So there's
Oh,
an
it's
all
beautiful.
recovery. So there's
All recovery.
all pathways in one room.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I need
Family members
love that.
come. It's just like it's just an hour of
Yeah.
whatever the topic is, you
Yeah.
know? It's
That's
beautiful.
phenomenal.
And we build on what's going right here.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
in treatment, they kind of break us down to build us back up, and that's the job of it. And so for people to plug into an RCO, they just get to focus on what's going right because we need that encouragement,
Yeah.
as we're building up.
Mm-hmm.
So since I became the director, we've hired two more people, and we're about to hire one more in March.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So it was 2 years to the promotion, and then you've grown, you'll have grown the team with three additional by this year.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, that's amazing. And
So wow.
so now you're leading in church, you're leading at work, you're letting your partner, husband kind of lead.
Yeah.
Something's got to give. Like you can need you have to be not a follower. I mean, you're still kind of, you know what I'm saying. You
Yes.
gotta give somewhere and let somebody
Absolutely.
take some responsibility because you're managing so much. Now I have got to ask you, did you struggle with like any self-doubt or what do they call it when you're imposter syndrome?
Oh, absolutely. It
Yeah.
still pops up from time to time.
Is it?
Not as much, but it does. Well, I've got to grow so much with this community. I feel like I've been here my whole life.
Mm.
That's how much relationship building that God has allowed me to do here.
Mhm.
But I absolutely still have those moments sometimes. I get in these different rooms. So, okay, I'll tell you about one of them. It is, a defect case is what really fueled my recovery, brought me into recovery. Well, today I get to serve on the defects board of directors. Like I'm a
Wow.
board director there. But I'm still in a place now where I still have some doubt. Like I know my lived experience means everything to be sitting in that room. That needs to be represented like no other. But then I'm in a room with like everybody who hasn't been through one.
Yeah.
And I can sometimes be like, God, how am I ever going to make a change in this community,
Yeah.
with defects when it's so heavy, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But I just gotta trust him. I know he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And he's proven that
Yeah.
over and over. But
Yeah.
that's when I'm kind of in the midst of a struggle with now.
I think
Eight and
people,
a half years later in recovery,
yeah.
you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This when we're in the room with fellow addicts and alcoholics, of course there's no imposter syndrome because we're just like, this is where this is like
Yeah,
home. Like this is where we are, with our
we all made it off the burning ship together.
right, exactly. We're like with our people.
Mhm.
And then I will say, even, for me too, being, in my career, I've gotten through it, but I changed career. And then, so there was a little imposter syndrome just because I switched careers at 39. And then also it's dissipated, but for a while there, as I got back into the world of work, I almost felt alien to society, and because, I have this thing that there's a stigma with, there's
Absolutely.
a
Boom.
stigma,
That's it right there.
and so, and you never know who's gonna have that have that point of view or not. So
That's right.
you've got to sort of tread gently and be respectful, and if somebody has got um a strong opinion about it or judgments, I just love them,
That's right.
love them
I
where
mean,
they
that you
love.
said it all right there to a T.
Yeah,
That's exactly. You got to love them gently,
yeah, yeah,
gently, and God has this last year being on the defects board. He has really helped me keep my mouth shut
yeah,
because it was not going to be helpful. You know,
absolutely. Yeah, we
so
keep
He has me in that space right now.
pause. And is this helpful? Is this kind? Is this
That's it.
loving?
That's exactly right. And
And if
I'm not
it,
there yet.
no, I know, me neither. Me neither. I have my moments. I mean, it's, all this progress, not perfection. But so I do have to ask you, what's the most surprising lesson you've learned about yourself throughout this journey?
The most surprising is, I don't know about the most, but what I am, something I have learned. So let me show you this. Hold on. Make sure you can see it. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see that?
Almost. Oh, almost.
So it's a picture of me,
When
and
you were little?
I was playing in the snow, and it was before the stuff happened. You
Yeah.
know, I was like 4 or 5 right there. And today, what I've learned is that I'm like her safe person.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
I am who she needed.
Yeah.
Who she needed.
Yeah.
The way that maybe this is probably it. One of the most surprising things I've learned about me is I can really advocate for myself today
Yes. That's amazing. Yeah.
in relationships where it has never been easy to advocate for myself.
Mm.
I can do it today.
Me too.
You know, and that's probably the thing that does astonish me sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Being able to say that makes me uncomfortable, or no being a complete sentence,
That's
or, if it's somebody reaching out, in recovery, I'm going to answer the phone, unless there's an emergency with McLean or something like that. Um, but sometimes I don't respond, I'm not going to respond to a text straight away, or I'm not going to always answer the phone if I'm having some time with, to rest and relax, or, eating a meal in peace, or eating a meal with my daughter. There's just being that loving parent to yourself, and then being that for Marley,
that's right.
you know, like
And
learning how to do that for yourself enables you to do that for Marley.
it's teaching her how to do it because
Yes.
she's learning, and it's been hard for her to learn how to get through the feelings to advocate for herself,
Yeah.
but she's been doing it. Like she's
Yeah.
been doing it recently in the last like year and a half,
Hmm.
maybe year. She's been learning how to tell me the way something makes her feel, or if she doesn't like that, or if a friend wasn't kind to her, you know. It's
Hmm.
only because we're
She's
there for
watching everything that you do. Yeah.
every single thing.
Every single thing. Yeah.
We're in the bathroom. She's like, "Now show me how you put that on your face because I want to do it just like it." I
Oh
mean,
my gosh, bless her.
oh God, it's
I
the
know,
most
McLean.
compliment.
Yeah, McLean, she's 15 now, my daughter, and she does her makeup like a super like a model, like a photo shoot. In fact, I really should have her do my makeup because
Exactly. You
she's
should.
she's been watching all the videos, and I don't know, they take it to a whole other level. She has a better face routine and skin routine than I do. I mean, the lotions and potions that she has, unbelievable, unbelievable. I'm like, what is this for? And she's like, oh, fine lines. I'm like, fine lines. I'm like, I should have that. You've got no fine lines anyway. So
Listen, we're in for a treat.
we
That's
are,
our
yes,
leaders right there.
that's right, that's
They
right.
are they are on it.
Yeah, they are. They are. Well, we'll wrap up in just a minute, but I want to just ask you this last kind of question. And if you had one message for listeners walking their own like Phoenix path, their comeback story, what would it be? That's a big question. I know that's a big question.
I'm thinking.
And it doesn't have to be one message for listeners, but I guess your message for listeners walking their own comeback path, whether they're thinking about getting into recovery or it's not really a thinking, is it? It's like a desperation that we go through.
Yes,
Uh,
it's
but
inspiration. Yes.
yeah, but what's Catherine's message for people that are,
That it takes time.
yeah.
It takes time. You know, I'll tell you like that. My attitude took a, what do I really got control over? And that's my actions and my attitudes, right? So my attitude, it didn't take long for my attitude to get better, but it took a while for things to start materializing. I
Hmm.
mean, it took a while for me to even get to subsidized housing.
Yeah.
So,
So
man,
try and be patient with yourself and
yes,
yeah.
persevere and that learning how to be gentle with ourselves, the telling on secrets, the safe people, man, just the in prayer.
Hmm.
Like don't underestimate prayer because
Oh, yeah.
God gives me the strength like right when I need it,
Yeah.
and He always freely gives it,
Yeah.
especially if I'm in a pinch. I done got myself
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. No, absolutely.
taking time to find your community.
Hmm.
That is because we don't always feel like doing it. We don't always want to choose it. It's hard some days. But if we have built a community around us,
Hmm.
they will help carry you.
Yeah.
They'll help carry me today when I
Yeah.
have hard times. So,
Yeah.
the connections, the opposite of addiction,
Absolutely.
just it's in every single way, it's just been perfect.
Yeah.
Finding community to help and not to give up because a breakthrough is always coming. There is always a breakthrough
There's
coming.
always a new breakthrough. And I think that's really important for, listeners, anybody that's, thinking that their life has come to an end or their life will end or will they ever have fun again or what is life going to look like? It's exciting and there's breakthrough after breakthrough and, being fully you're finding yourself, really finding yourself. And, obviously all the things we've talked about today, being of service and all those things that, just fill us up. But
Yeah. And a
yeah,
lot of times those just come later, but in the beginning, I'm just sitting here thinking about all the people that we've lost.
yeah,
In the last few years with the fentanyl crisis, and if there's anything else, it's like there are nationwide hotlines
hmm,
everywhere.
yeah,
Like even if you're in a little town with no resources at your little town, you can call these hotlines. You can Google it. They're there to connect you to resources. They
that's
connect
amazing.
people to you today.
That's
Like,
amazing.
oh my gosh, please just don't give up.
Yeah, yeah. And also I've got to ask this too. Um, and then we'll say, we'll say goodbye, but I'm gonna be in touch with you. But um, if people want to, connect with you or follow you on social media, I wasn't sure if there was a way that they could do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, the organization that I work for is called Freedom to Recovery.
Yeah.
The Citizen Board Recovery Community Organization. It was named after an amazing woman, but it does have a long name, and it is only on Facebook. And then I am on Facebook and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine Tootle. You can send me a friend request. I would I would love to be encouraged by someone else, and I would love to encourage other people and share all of my wonderful cats with y'all because that's what
I love it. I love it. I
I
love
love
it.
my babies. I got four. That's what we need to be talking about is all
I
the
love it.
cats we
Love
have.
it. And you embody an encourager. You've always been an encourager. You were an encourager early on. Even when, like I said earlier, things were burned to the ground, you were always an encourager and always have had that about you. And so that is beautiful and a great place to end. I hope we'll have you back, I'm sure, down the road
Be
and
fun.
just to hear what else has been happening. I have no doubt that there'll just be miracle after miracle, and so we will catch up again. But thank you for sharing that. I will put that information in the show notes so people can, find that easily if they look. Please like and subscribe and leave a note if you enjoyed this episode. We would love to have your thoughts and comments. And Catherine, thank you so much again. I can't wait to catch up. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.